Yes, it was a long journey, but Trey Tyler is finally on an NFL team despite the critics. Look at this right here. Depressing draft day for Trey Tyler, most definitely went undrafted, but nevertheless he got a chance. He's on the Jacksonville Jaguar roster. Todd McShay has something to say. Scouts just didn't think much about Trey Tyler coming out of Alabama State. Well, we got to prove those scouts wrong, for it's going to be a long journey. Y'all going to have to be patient with this one. So as you can see, we got a season goal, 20 touchdown passes. Our legacy ranking is very, very, very low. So with that being said, we got to move up on the depth chart. We're going to start this practice and we're going to start this quest to become an NFL quarterback. So you see, we're going to go through the scenarios and we're going to pick the best one where we can make the fastest progress. That's pretty much going to be the goal for the rookie season. We're going to worry about making the progress to move up on the depth chart. We are third string right now behind Chad Henne and Blaine Gabbert. Two mediocre quarterbacks that we could eventually overcome. We could go up on that depth chart. We're not that far from them. I believe Chad Henne's with a 76 or 77 overall. Blaine Gabbert is like a 75. Trey Tyler starting off at a 73. So here he is. Our first look at Trey Tyler in the Jacksonville Jaguar uniform. There goes Maurice Jones-Drew. And I believe he was in his 6th or 7th season during this time. We're going to be depending on him a lot. There goes Trey Tyler stepping back that pass, but he got popped before he could get the pass off. Good Lord. So now here he is again. First and 10 situation, a draw play to Maurice Jones-Drew. This man is an absolute animal. And we do have some decent wide receivers, but we'll talk about them later. Well, there goes Trey Tyler dropping that pass off the Robinson. First down for the Jags. Duval in the building. So as you see here, we're going to go back to the draft from the Alabama State series. So as you see on your screen, you see 3 quarterbacks go in the first 6 picks. Now in real life in the 2012 NFL draft, there were 4 quarterbacks selected in the first round. The first 2 picks, which you see here, you see Jay Hall and you see David Justice from South Carolina. They went 1 or 2, both quarterback position. This also happened in real life in case you forgot. So we're going to talk about some quarterbacks that you should be familiar with that went in the real life 2012 NFL draft. Starting off at number 1 overall. I was so happy when this cat left Stanford. He gave us hell, and when I mean us, I'm talking about the USC Trojan football fans, man. Andrew Luck was an absolute animal at Stanford. He was great at Stanford, as a matter of fact. We was never able to beat him during his time there. Now, his final season at Stanford was one to remember. Pac-12 Offensive Player of the Year, Heisman Trophy runner-up, won the Johnny Unitas Award, and of course, he was named First Team All-American. And I'll never forget that game in 2011 at USC. We should have won that game. Curtis McNeil fumbled that ball in the end zone, and we ended up losing that game. We had Stanford right where we wanted them. But nevertheless, Andrew Luck went first overall to the Colts. And of course, we know he retired sooner than expected. He was playing through bleeding kidneys because they did such a terrible job of pass protecting for that man. Just sad. Still remember when those fans booed him. Robert Griffin III, the 2011 Heisman Trophy winner, was selected 2nd overall by Washington. We're not going to say the old name, we'll just say Commanders. Robert Griffin III had a junior season, a redshirt junior season to remember. Considering his sophomore season, he had the redshirt due to the fact that he had a knee injury. So Robert Griffin III, in his final season at Baylor, he completed over 70% of his passes, 72 to be more precise. And NFL scouts said that he was not accurate. Now remember, when his rookie season at Washington, he led them to the NFC East title. He led the league in touchdown to interception ratio. But everything went downhill for him after he tore that knee for the 2nd time in that playoff game versus Seattle. Ryan Tannehill coming out of
Texas A&M.
That's right, he came out of Texas A&M. Now his journey to the league was very interesting. Remember, in high school, he was a 3-sport athlete. Played football, basketball, track and field. He redshirted in 2007. In 2008, he competed for the starting quarterback spot. He lost it. He was placed at third string. So the coach decided to move him at wide receiver. He would not get another chance to play quarterback until the 2010 season, which was his redshirt junior year. As a redshirt senior, he finally got his chance to be the guy at quarterback, throwing for over 3,700 yards and 26 touchdowns. And then eventually he got drafted 8th overall by the Miami Dolphins. And I gotta say, since joining the Tennessee Titans, this man is a master finesser. When you need him the most, and I'm talking about playoff time, he's nowhere to be found. He folds. This team depends on Derrick Henry way too much, in my opinion. And remember, in real life, the 2023 season, he's due to make almost $30 million. You talk about finessing teams. That's probably why they're talking about trading Derrick Henry now, because they don't want to pay running backs no more in this league. I'm going to make a video about that eventually, though. So here we go at 22 overall. Brandon Wheaton. Now remember, this cat was interesting because after high school, he pursued a career in baseball. And then he pursued college football. He did not get drafted until his late 20s. I believe he was around 28 years old. So this was Justin Blackmon's quarterback in college. You know, the guy that got drafted by the Jaguars in the same draft that we're going to be throwing the ball to, with Trey Tyler, as a matter of fact. But Brandon Wheaton, everybody thought that he would be ready because he was older than the average draft prospect. But he only lasted 6 or 7 seasons, and now he's out the league. At the second round at 57 overall, this is one I still question to this day. A lot of NFL scouts fell in love with the fact that he was 6'7" and had a very strong arm. Brent Osweiler, out of Arizona State, did not become the starting quarterback until his last season at Arizona State, which was his junior year in 2011. He put up decent numbers, though. He wasn't that bad, but he wasn't that great. Like I said earlier, NFL scouts, they fell in love with the fact that he was so tall. It was just like why the Buccaneers drafted Josh Freeman in the first round. They fell in love with the fact that he was a tall quarterback with a very strong arm. But despite all that, his career didn't turn out great. He only had a season where he was a full-time starting quarterback, and that's with the Houston Texans. But in the end, he is a Super Bowl champion, backing up Peyton Manning. Remember, the 2012 season was Peyton Manning's first season as the starting quarterback for the Denver Broncos. Eventually, they would win the Super Bowl, but remember, they got blown out by the Seahawks in that Super Bowl in New York. But in the end, Brent Osweiler turned out to be not that guy. He was not him, man. The dude just had a strong arm. He was tall, and that's what got him in the league. And that's what kept him in the league longer than I expected, because he played for a lot of teams in a short time span. I believe he played for like 5 or 6 teams overall. But nevertheless, he made it to the league, and now he's on ESPN covering college football. The next guy, though, is a cat I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with. He is beta, by the way. But Russell Wilson, out of Wisconsin. Now remember, in this game, NCAA 11, he's not on the Wisconsin roster. He's on the North Carolina State roster. But that's interesting to say because his career at North Carolina State gets overlooked a lot. Now, he redshirted up there in 2007. 2008, he comes in as a quarterback and wins ACC Freshman of the Year. So in 2008, which was his redshirt freshman season, he throws 1 interception in 275 attempts, along with 17 touchdown passes. So then he comes in 2009 and he sets an NCAA record for the most pass attempts without an interception at 379, dog. That's crazy. 2010, he holds the single season record for total touchdowns with 37. He holds the record for total touchdowns in the career at North Carolina State with 93. 4th all-time in passing yards, 4th all-time in career total yards. Man was an absolute monster at North Carolina State based off the stats. And on top of that, when he went to Wisconsin, he holds the single season record now for most touchdown passes in a single season along with leading Wisconsin to a Big Ten championship, and then eventually they lost in the Rose Bowl. But what a lot of people don't know about Russell Wilson is he transferred to Wisconsin very late in the summer, man, which is why they didn't make that change. By the time this game was set to come out, he just now transferred to Wisconsin. He just made that announcement. But nevertheless, he's had a pretty good NFL career. There goes Nick Foles, though. 3rd round, just 13 picks later at 88 overall out of Arizona. Another cat that started his college football career at another school. Remember, Nick Foles transferred from Michigan State. So I forgot who the cat was. It was a quarterback that transferred there to Oklahoma, and Nick Foles was like, no, I'm about to get up out of here and go down to Tucson, Arizona. So again, here goes another tall quarterback. Nick Foles is 6'6", around 245, almost 250 pounds, and he has a cannon for an arm, man. I still remember when Arizona came to play USC back in 2011, and we was blowing them out, and they kept passing the ball, and they eventually got back into the game, mainly due to the fact that our defense was so bad with the coverages. But Nick Foles in 2011 was no doubt one of the best passers in college football, one of the best quarterbacks. Put on some very great numbers, as a matter of fact. And that high-octane offense they run back at Arizona during that time was absolutely nuts. A lot of teams had trouble stopping it, but at the same time, they was very one-dimensional. They wasn't that great at running the football, but Nick Foles, was throwing absolute dots out there. And speaking of Michigan State, let's go to the next guy in the 4th round at 102 overall. Now remember, RG3 was drafted number 2 by Washington. Kirk Cousins went to Washington at 102. The plan was for him to back up RG3 at the time. But remember, RG3's injury not only cost him his career, but eventually the Washington football team, Commanders, whatever, decided to shut him down. And then eventually, Kirk Cousins became that guy. And now he's up in Minnesota finessing the Vikings. One of the best finessers in the game today. Now, some other names you might be familiar with from this draft. You might be familiar with cats like Bobby Wagner, J.J. Watt, who just retired from the Arizona Cardinals, but we all know he's going to be retiring as a Houston Texan. And then, of course, you got Justin Blackmon. You have, I believe, Stephon Gilmore. How could I forget about Maurice Claiborne and Trent Richardson? They were top 5 picks, as a matter of fact. So during this time, you had a lot of young talent coming into the league at quarterback, from rookies to cats that was either on their 2nd, 3rd, or 4th season. There was a lot of young talent during this time. Now remember, in total, there were 11 quarterbacks picked in this draft class. There was 3 that I didn't mention. One was a quarterback out of San Diego State. The other one was a quarterback out of Chattanooga. And the last pick, Mr. Irrelevant, was also a quarterback. But they didn't pan out. But Trey Tyler has his hands full. He has to go up against all this young talent eventually. And then, of course, he has to move up on that roster. Can he crawl out of that dirt and shine like a diamond? Join us next time. We're going to start the preseason. Peace.